Hello everyone, happy Halloween. Welcome back to the Inked Esquire YouTube channel. Today in the spirit of Halloween, let's talk about murder and musicals. Those of you who know me know that I'm a big musical nerd. I discovered Little Shop of Horror back in 2015 when I was working as a tech with the Lakeland Community Theater. And after that I had to go out and watch the movie, became fascinated with the story, and it's been on my Halloween movie watch list ever since. Now, Seymour Kelborn here. Been through some stuff, and assuming everybody survives the space plant apocalypse, you're probably going to notice that this guy is missing. Missing under suspicious circumstances, and eventually it may be discovered that he's dead. Now, Seymour here, they probably aren't going to be able to find a lot of evidence against him. It's more than likely going to be a circumstantial evidence case. The only part that I think is the X factor is Audrey. Audrey seems like a fragile soul, and she'll probably be weak in the face of law enforcement questioning. So whether she does it just to save her skin or because she can't help herself, she might end up saying something to the police that gives them some more evidence against poor Seymour here. So today let's talk about the potential murder case or murder investigation that's going to be coming his way. What's the first thing, the most important thing that Seymour needs to do? Seymour needs to keep his mouth shut. They have a circumstantial evidence case against him. They don't have a body. They may not have much more than rumors and thoughts of other people, suspicions of other people, and once his name comes up, they'll go ahead and talk to him. They may have a case, they may not. So the most important thing that Seymour can do is keep his mouth shut. He's got a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and he needs to remember to use it. What's the second most important thing that he needs to do? He needs to get himself an experienced attorney to help him get through the investigation, and if ultimately he's charged, he's going to need to build a defense. Now, we all saw Seymour in the movie. He killed the dentist and turned him into plant food. He even sung a song about it. It seems pretty hopeless, doesn't it? But I'm going to tell you right now, if he gets himself an experienced attorney that knows what he's doing, there's some things that we can do for Seymour here. Seymour grew up on Skid Row. He was taken in by this plant shop owner. There's likely he's got significant abandonment issues, anxiety, depression, potentially some other psychological issues. It's very important that he be evaluated for mitigation purposes. Some of you thinking about psychological evaluations may also be thinking about insanity. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. For now, I want to focus on mitigation. What might a psychological evaluation uncover? These potential diagnoses that I talked about, and give us some motivation for why he reacted irrationally. So that's mitigation. Try to give the state attorney something that they can latch onto when thinking about potential lesser included type of plea agreements. Next, how to build his defense. Again, we saw him sing a song about it. We saw him kill dentist here. We saw him turn him into plant food. And we heard him saying, he sure looks like plant food to me. But we can at least start by suggesting there could be some self-defense. Again, Seymour here probably has some anxiety issues, probably been bullied all his life. He's probably had a very difficult upbringing on Skid Row and might not react rationally in a threatening situation. Now that's throwing things at the wall hoping something will stick. That's not going to be where we want to make our main focus. Our main focus is defense of others. Audrey here has been abused by a dentist. We see that the dentist has bullied Seymour, even sang a song about what a sadist he is. Now at trial, it may not be admissible to get into too much about his sadistic tendencies or character. Character evidence is generally inadmissible except for certain exceptions. But we know what was going on. Audrey can testify about the abuse. Seymour can tell us about the abuse he witnessed. There may be other witnesses out there to the abuse that can tell us what was going on between the dentist and Audrey. We can argue that Seymour was acting in defense of Audrey. Now, there's some weaknesses to this defense. It wasn't an imminent type of situation. There wasn't a threat going on at the moment. So there's going to be weaknesses here, but it gives us something to argue between a potential suggestion of self-defense, suggestion of defense of others. It gives us something that can be presented to the state attorney's office along with any mitigation packet, psychological evaluations and whatnot. So Seymour's case is not completely hopeless, but we go back to the first and most important thing is he needed to keep his mouth shut. I've seen many cases in my career where we might have had somewhat of a defense, maybe not the best defense, but at least a decent defense, completely derailed by a client happily talking to the officer about everything that happened. A lot of clients think that if they just explain it the right way, or if they're just cooperative and people see that they're a nice guy who's trying to cooperate with law enforcement, that law enforcement is going to leave them around, just call it a day and we're going to forget this happened. That's just not the way it works. Sometimes I have clients who think that they're somehow going to outsmart the cops. That's not how this works. At some point, someone's going to talk long enough that they say something that can either be directly used against them because they made an admission they shouldn't have, or that can be twisted against them because they've said something that could eventually or possibly be interpreted in such a way that it's incriminating. Now, we talked a lot about Seymour's psychological issues, his mental health status, and things that might have motivated him to act in an irrational way. It's possible that a psychological evaluation could come back, if we requested this type of evaluation, as him being insane at the time of the offense. What's insane at the time of the offense? It means at the time of the offense, he didn't know right from wrong. And it's very possible that under the circumstances and his background, Seymour here might potentially qualify for an insanity defense. In a lot of cases, we have a client who has some mental health issues, makes them unstable, makes them act irrationally in irrational situations, and do things that many of us otherwise won't. A lot of times those don't reach the level of insanity, but sometimes they do. If someone is insane at the time of the offense, they can certainly argue that to a jury, and then that jury, if they found the person not guilty by reason of insanity, or NGRI, could come back with a verdict that says they aren't guilty by reason of insanity. Unfortunately, that's not the end of the story. When someone is found not guilty by reason of insanity, they get shipped off to the state hospital. And once you're on that ride, the odds of getting off, much less getting off anytime soon, are slim to none, because odds are reports are going to keep coming back. Seymour's still insane. He shouldn't be released from the state hospital, and there he stays. In some situations where the offense is very, very, very serious, such as, say, if he gets charged with first-degree murder, that could potentially be a consideration. In other cases, I know we're here to talk about murder, but we'll talk about other situations as well. In other situations, the solution may be worse than the problem. So we're not going to focus on insanity. Seymour here needs to focus on his defense, his potential suggestion that he's defending himself, and the very real suggestion that he was defending Audrey, that his actions were in defense of her. Again, that may have some legs to stand on. It may not, but it gives us something to argue. The point of all of that is the situation is not hopeless. Some poor guy like Seymour comes to me charged with murder. and a pretty strong case against him. That's not the end of the story. That's why criminal defense attorneys exist. And the only way that the state can get their conviction is if they can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. If they can't, if I as an attorney can poke holes in their story or convince them through mitigation and through presentation of defenses that they may not have as solid a case as they think, that could be a game changer. So bottom line, stay out of trouble, but if trouble finds you, keep your mouth shut and get an experienced attorney. This is Inked Esquire. See you in the next video.